everyone, welcome to SR English videos. In this video, we are going to learn relative clauses. What are relative clauses? What do they do? All these are being learned in this video. Shall we go into the topic? Friends, now we are learning relative clauses. Relative clauses are two types, defining and non-defining. First of all, let us see what a relative clause is. A relative clause is an adjective clause. We know what adjectives do. Adjectives qualify or modify nouns. It is clear. Then, what is a relative clause? Means a relative clause is an adjective clause. This relative clause functions as an adjective. See, a relative clause functions as an adjective. An adjective describes or defines or relates a noun. That means describes, defines or relates, tells something about the subject. So, relative clauses are the clauses that relate, means tell something about the subject. This is what relative clause is. Relative clause is an adjective clause. An adjective is a word that modifies or qualifies a noun. So, a relative clause functions as an adjective. It is used in place of an adjective. That is a relative clause. For example, good people are respected anywhere. Which people are respected? Good people. Here, the word in green color is good. It is an adjective. It is qualifying the noun people. So, what kind of people? Good people. The clause for the word good is who are good. You know, a clause is a group of words that has a subject and a predicate. A clause is a group of words that has a subject and a predicate. That means here who is subject or good is predicate. So it makes a clause. This functions as an adjective. Good is an adjective. Who are good is a clause that can be used in place of good. So this is an adjective clause. People who are good are respected anywhere. People are respected anywhere. Which people are respected anywhere? Who are good. What kind of people are respected anywhere? Who are good. People who are good are respected anywhere means good people are respected anywhere. Then what is the difference? Is there any difference? No, not at all. But why should we use a clause, relative clause instead of good, an adjective? Let us see. Here, good is an adjective. It qualifies the noun people. The clause for the adjective good is who are good. Here, good people are respected anywhere is a simple sentence. When we are writing something in a simple sentence, if it is necessary to describe or define that noun, I mean the subject, we can use a single adjective. But when we have to change that into complex sentence, we should use a subordinate clause, relative clause. That is an adjective clause. Are you able to understand, children? Why should we use a relative clause instead of a single word? Adjective is a single word. Then why should we use a clause, an adjective clause? In order to change the simple sentence into a complex one, we use a subordinate clause. That subordinate clause here is the adjective clause that tells something about the noun people. The complex sentences for good people are respected anywhere is people who are good are respected anywhere. In italics, you can see people who are good are respected anywhere. This is a complex sentence. There is one main clause and one subordinate clause. People are respected anywhere is a main clause. Who are good is a subordinate clause. It is in the sentence, in that main clause, because it is an adjective clause. It is inserted in the main clause. So we can understand that relative clauses are adjective clauses that qualify or modify the subjects, which are usually nouns or pronouns. Okay. Here the clause who are good is defining the noun people. The clause who are good, the relative clause who are good is defining the noun people. Without this defining clause, the noun people is not definite. People means which people? We can't define them. We can't identify them. So, which people are respected anywhere? In order to know that, we should use either an adjective or an adjective clause. So, the adjective clause we use to define that noun or pronoun is defining clause. Friends, could you understand? A defining or describing clause is an adjective clause that defines or describes or makes us know the subject which it is a defining clause. So, this is called a defining relative clause. Friends, could you understand why a relative clause, this kind of relative clause is called that defines the subject? A relative clause that defines or describes the subject is called a defining relative clause. Where we can use a word adjective, why should we use a clause? You may have this question. Where we can use a word adjective, simply a single word, why should we use a clause, a lengthy one? Who are good? For good, who are good, why should we use? We can reduce the words, but there are certain situations. There are certain situations where we cannot use an adjective, a single word. There we have to use a clause. Where it is not possible to use a single word, a defining word, we have to use defining clause. Let us see how. Consider the following. A man is standing at the gate. He is my uncle. Which man? A man here is indefinite. Which man he is, I did not tell you clearly. So later I said, my uncle. He is my uncle. Now it is clear. The man who is standing at the gate is my uncle. Now the man is identified or defined. So now that man becomes definite. A man means some man. Now became definite. So we introduce that man with a definite article the. Here in the first sentence indefinite article became the definite article the. Do you understand this? A man is standing at the gate. Which man? We don't know. Some man. An unidentifiable man. But with the latter one, he is my uncle. When I told you that he is my uncle, now the man is clear who he is. So now an indefinite man became definite with the definition of he is my uncle. So a man here is indefinite. My uncle defines or describes that man. Then that man becomes definite. So in the next usage, we can introduce that man with a definite article the. The man who is my uncle is standing at the gate. The man who is my uncle is standing at the gate. Here, who is my uncle defines that man. Okay? Next. Moreover, if we use the man my uncle sounds odd. It doesn't sound good to say my uncle man is standing at the gate. In order to use, if you want to use a phrase or a single word, it doesn't sound good in this situation. In the situation of good people are respected anywhere, we can use a single word. But here we can't use a single word. My uncle. My uncle is a phrase. So here we can't, of course we can use, but it sounds odd. That is why clause here. It doesn't sound good to say my uncle man is standing at the gate. So an adjective clause is next. The same sentence in a different way. He is my uncle. He is standing at the gate. The sentence in reverse I gave you the same sentence as the first one. He is my uncle. Who is my uncle? The man who is standing at the gate is my uncle. He who is standing at the gate is my uncle. He is my uncle. He is standing at the gate. He who is standing at the gate is my uncle. In this way, in two ways, we can write that sentence. Okay, now, so relative clauses which are adjective clauses are necessary. Where we can't use a single word or a phrase, there we should use relative clauses. Otherwise, we need not. So, in order to introduce a defining relative clause, we use the relative pronouns and adverbs. Relative clauses are introduced by relative pronouns or relative adverbs. Let us see what relative pronouns in subjective case for persons who are that, for things which are that. Relative pronouns objective case for persons whom are that, for things which are that. Relative pronouns possessive case for persons whose, for things of which are whose. These are the relative pronouns we can use to introduce a relative clause. Okay? Okay friends, now let us see non-defining relative clauses. So far we learned defining relative clauses. There are another type of relative clauses. What are they? Non-defining relative clauses. Among the relative clauses we use every day, 90% of relative clauses are defining type. Only 10% are non-defining. Let us see. A non-defining relative clause doesn't define or describe the noun, that is subject, but it gives some extra information about the subject, that is noun or pronoun, which is not necessary for the identification of the subject. What is a non-defining clause? A non-defining clause is a clause we use to give an extra information about the subject. Actually, it is not necessary for the identification of the subject. The subject about which we are talking is clear, either with a proper noun or with some identity like my uncle, my sister, my father or my students. It is clear. The subject is clear. Then we don't need to define that one or describe that one. So in such cases, we use non-defining clauses. Why should we use that non-defining clauses? In order to give some extra information about the subject we use. Actually, these non-defining relative clauses do not affect the main sentence. Let us see how it happens. Here, in these examples, we can see, my uncle is standing at the gate. He is a police officer. Here, my uncle is clear. My own uncle. I don't need to describe him. It is clear. When I say my uncle, it is understood. So why should we describe him again? We need not. But I intend to give some extra information about him. Then we can use that non-defining clause in brackets or separated by commas or separated by two dashes, which is not necessary. See, for example, my uncle, comma, who is a police officer, is standing at the gate. Who is a police officer is not necessary. My uncle is standing at the gate. It is obvious. It is clear to everyone. My uncle is standing at the gate. But here, I wanted to give you some information about him. That is actually not necessary. But I intended to give you. So, I can use in this way. My uncle, who is a police officer, is standing at the gate. When you give some extra information, you should separate that clause with commas or dashes or parentheses. That means round brackets. Next, see another example. Gandhi. It is clear, obvious. Everyone knows who is Gandhi or who Gandhi is. So, Gandhi is called as the father of the nation. Sentence. Gandhi is called as the father of the nation. No description is necessary. Gandhi is called the father of the nation. No ambiguity. We need not describe him again. But I wanted to give some extra information here. Who fought for independence is called as the father of the nation. Next, my sister. Clear. My sister means it is clear. She belongs to me. So, here no need of a clause or a definition or description. But I used here who got married to an NRI returned home. My sister returned home. Clear. The information is clear. My sister returned home. But I added something. Who got married to an NRI. Here my sister is only one sister. She got married to an NRI. She returned home. Okay. Here with my sister the identification is clear. We need not give any definition. So we need not use a defining clause here. I am giving an extra information. So I separated who got married to an NRI. It is not necessary actually. Let us see. Non-defining relative clauses are separated either by commas or dashes or parentheses. For example, my sister who got married to an NRI returned home. Here in this script, in blue which is in blue letters, is a non-defining clause. It is separated by commas. In the next one, it is separated by dashes. In the third one, it is separated by parentheses. That means round brackets. What happens if they are not separated? When the non-defining relative clauses are not separated, what happens? There will be ambiguity. There will be ambiguity means there is a good chance of understanding in two different ways. In what way? See, for example, my sister who got married to an NRI returned home. I have got only one sister and she got married to an NRI. She returned home. This is, I have only one sister. She got married to an NRI. She returned home. See the next one. My sister who got married to an NRI returned home. Here, if you don't separate that who got married to an NRI, it gives a different meaning. What does it mean? I have more than one sister. This sister of them got married to an NRI and she returned home. So, I am defining my sister here. Here, my sister is defined or described from other sisters. When you do not use commas here, there is ambiguity. Of course, my sister, okay. But in order to separate my sister, one of several sisters, I should use defining clause here. Non-defining not. Only when I have got only one sister, then I can separate that non-defining clause with commas or dashes or parentheses. But when I have more than one sister, I should define the sister in the question. So I need not use here that non-defining, but I should use here defining type. So my sister who got married to an NRA returned home means I have more than one sister, and this sister of them got married to an NRI and she returned home. Clear, friends? Are you able to understand the difference between non-defining clause and defining clause? Defining clause is used to separate or distinguish from among others. That means if there are more than one person or thing in the subject, we have to use defining. If there is only one of its kind, we give some extra information, then we use non-defining. Clear? We can use that or who for persons and that or which for things. Then what is the difference? We can use both. But is there any difference? Do both give same meaning? No. See, I will explain here. The man that is standing at the gate is my uncle. Grammatically, this is absolutely correct, and meaning also correct. Then what does it say? I will explain you in Telugu. The man that is standing at the gate is my uncle means గేటు దగ్గర నిలబడిన వ్యక్తి మా మామయ్య. ఆ గేటు దగ్గర నిలబడిన వ్యక్తి మా మామయ్య. క్లియర్? నెక్స్ట్ వన్. The man who is standing at the gate is my uncle. This doesn't give the same meaning as the previous one. What does this mean? ఎవరైతే గేట్ దగ్గర నిలబడి ఉన్నారో, ఓ వ్యక్తి, ఓ మనిషి ఎవరైతే గేట్ దగ్గర నిలబడి ఉన్నారో ఆయన మా మామయ్య. దట్ మీన్స్ ఆ అని అనే అని అర్థం వస్తుంది. హూ అంటే ఎవరైతే అనే అర్థం వస్తుంది. అంటే హూ అనేది సమ్ స్ట్రెస్ ఎంఫాసిస్ ఇస్తుంది, దట్ అనేది సింపుల్గా చెప్తుంది. వన్స్ ద మ్యాన్ దట్ ఈస్ స్టాండింగ్ ఎట్ ద గేట్ ఈస్ మై అంకుల్. గేటు దగ్గర నిలబడిన వ్యక్తి మా మామయ్య. రెండో సెంటెన్స్లో ఎవరైతే గేటు దగ్గర నిలబడి ఉన్నారో ఆ వ్యక్తి, ఆ మనిషి మా మామయ్య. అంటే వెన్ వి యూజ్ హూ ఎవరైతే, వెన్ వి యూజ్ దట్ ఆ అయినా అని అనే అనే అర్థం వస్తుంది. నెక్స్ట్, ద డివైస్ that enables you to access to internet is a smartphone. మనల్ని స్మార్ట్ ఫోన్, ఇంటర్నెట్కి ఒక సాధనం మనల్ని అంతర్జాలానికి ఇంటర్నెట్కి యాక్సెస్ అయ్యేలా చేస్తుంది. దాని పేరే అదే స్మార్ట్ ఫోన్. అంటే ఇక్కడ ద డివైస్ దట్ ఎనేబుల్స్ యూ టు యాక్సెస్ టు ఇంటర్నెట్ ఈజ్ అ స్మార్ట్ ఫోన్. నెక్స్ట్ సెంటెన్స్, ద డివైస్ which enables you to access to internet is a smartphone. Both gives same meaning, but what is the difference అని అంటే, ఏదైతే ఏ సాధనం అయితే మనల్ని ఇంటర్నెట్కి చేరుకునేలా అంటే చేస్తుందో అదే స్మార్ట్ ఫోన్. అంటే ఇక్కడ దట్ అంటే అని, ఆ అనే అని అర్థం, విచ్ అంటే ఏదైతే అనే అర్థం వస్తుంది. ఇలా హూ అంటే ఎవరైతే, విచ్ అంటే ఏదైతే, దట్ అంటే అని, ఆ అనే అర్థం వస్తుంది. ఫ్రెండ్స్, ఆర్ యూ ఏబుల్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ దిస్? ఇన్ ద నెక్స్ట్ వీడియో ఐ విల్ గివ్ యూ మోర్ డీటెయిల్స్ అబౌట్ రిలేటివ్ క్లాజెస్ ఇంక్లూడింగ్ రిలేటివ్ adverbs. For the time being it is getting too long, that is why I am cutting short it. In the next video you can watch about relative clauses with more examples and how to use that relative adverbs in relative clauses. Thank you for watching.